most people are either not good or are so terrifying that they're not even trying. So why is that? Why is it so important for people to get out of the comfort zone and continue to try new things?
Okay. So what's it mean to actually be in your comfort zone? It means that whatever you're doing to a level that is satisfactory. It may not be perfect, it may not be bad, it may not be necessarily consistent, but you're not getting any signals that of necessarily what it is you can improve, right? What you're doing is repetitive, you have general competency in it, and so it's relatively easy for you to accomplish whatever it is your goal is. That's not going to be a way that you're going to learn any new skills. And the only way that you're going to, say, build a skill set that you don't currently have or that you feel that you may be deficient in is to push yourself beyond what it is comfortable. Have some sort of risk. Have a possibility of failure. And the key to going outside of your comfort zone is to find that level at which, that balance between the possibility of failure and your ability to feel confident that you're going to accomplish your goal. And you can look at that any number of which ways. So the way I like to think about it is, do I have a slightly greater than 50% chance of accomplishing what it is that what I say I'm going to do? And that's when I look at it as, okay, this is a skill building or this is a developmental opportunity versus something that I would say that I'm proficient in and I can just knock right out. Another way to look at it is this moving like 10 to 20% beyond my familiarity? Find some sort of benchmark between what it is you commonly do and what it is you think you want to accomplish. So don't go out in front of 1,000 people and give a 30-minute speech if public speaking is something you want to develop, but find something within the role that you're doing now that allows you to take a step beyond what it is you normally do. Say if you're in a box and you're talking with a couple of stakeholders, what does it take to move beyond just that common role to something larger? Say, speaking to a group of engineers on common practices for fill in the blank, right? Ways to step beyond, ways that have the possibility for you to actually fail, that would cause you to stress, create a stress in order to build out a new skill. That's really the only way that you can truly, number one, work and practice on a skill, and number two, make those lessons permanent.
Why is stress the best way to learn?
I didn't say stress is the best way to learn.
You say create a stressful environment. Voluntarily put yourself into a stressful environment. That's how you know that you can get out of the comfort zone and thereby learning a new skill.
You need to be able to have signals that tell you that something is wrong or signals that tell you that something is deficient in order to encourage and basically force your mind to rewire itself when you're learning a new skill. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. So by stress, I mean something unfamiliar, something new, something that challenges you and forces you to think about something in a different way. I don't mean literally my heart is racing and I can't think of anything that I'm doing right and I'm going to just crawl under this desk for the next half hour and hope it goes away.
So speaking of skills, most schools now allow kids second grade and up to use AI tools such as ChatGPT to help learn and to form their long-term learning plan. For kids that grow up in this environment, what are the most important skills that the kids need to master in order to grow up to be a functional human being?
Well, that's two different questions. One is how do you integrate AI into a learning environment, and the other one is what is it that you should actually be learning? And which one do you want to cover?
Both. Let's start with how do you integrate? What is the correct way to integrate AI into today's learning environment?
There's probably not a good way to integrate it now.
That's great. Keep going. Just
Wow.
very alarming.
Well, there are products that will act as coaches versus like straight ChatGPT or straight Gemini, where the model has instructions to never give directly the answer, but encourage the person and give hints in order to reach a certain conclusion. My kid's not using that. Today I went over a science project with my 6th grader, and one quick look at his school provided Chromebook showed that he went to ChatGPT, asked for a hypothesis, asked for a test for that hypothesis, and then at least he was clever enough or aware enough to rewrite it to ask, how would a 6th grader write this out? And then he copied and pasted it into and then showed it to me and said, this is my work. Not going to fault him for using the tools that were provided, but that's certainly not creating an environment in which he's going to learn anything of what he just copied and pasted. And he's certainly not leaving a comfort zone of asking you the answer, right? There's no struggle there. There's no impression that's going to be made. And so I told him this, and my suggestion at first was to use the, whatever they call it, let's say the learning mode. But again, the student has to actually put that mode in on ChatGPT every single time. So we built out a set of instructions that hopefully will reduce the willingness of the AI to automatically provide the answer, put it into the customization feed, and at least a little bit now, when he asks a question, it prompts him to, number one, think more abstractly about the problem, and then asks for details about what he wants to actually accomplish. So he has to go through more and more steps before the model will start giving him canned responses, right? As a person in an office, I want a canned response, but that's in part because I already know the answer or how the answer should look. And if I get a canned response that doesn't look appropriate, I know why. He never will. He's just going to make the assumption that whatever the AI gives him is correct. And he's also going to make the assumption that whenever he needs an answer, it'll be there for him. It goes, and so that'll go a little bit further into what it is you should actually be teaching your kids. So I grew up and I went to a Dewey school, which actually was one of the schools that John Dewey founded. A lot of the things that Dewey did probably wouldn't pass scientific scrutiny, but he did have an idea that you should actually be teaching people how to learn. And by teaching people how to learn is, number one, how to do frameworks and structure your thoughts in a way that is, number one, repeatable and meaningful. Think just the basics of the scientific method, where you observe, you create a hypothesis, you create a test, and the framework by which you do all these things. These frameworks should be taught to children in order to help them structure how they will approach problems in the future. So not necessarily rote education, not memorization of facts, but memorization of problem-solving skills. How is it that we can get AI tools to teach our children to do that? I think there's products that are doing that now. Some are paid, some are free, mostly paid. But more importantly, how do we make sure that those are the tools that, one, our children are using, and two, that our children want to use or see value in using? So going back to, what is it, the idea of a comfort zone. Why would you ever leave a comfort zone? As a professional, you may have an idea of why. I have the next step in my career that I want to get to. I'm a great product manager, but to get to that next step, I have to be able to present to a certain audience or direct multiple products or say multiple programs to completion. So you have to show the ability to scale, maybe. You know where it is you may be deficient and where you can step out. A kid doesn't have any idea of what that means or what approach they would have to take to do so. And by giving them tools that allow them to shortcut everything, we're going to eventually have a generation of kids that no longer see things in terms of frameworks or how to problem solve, but just to type in a prompt.
So in this environment, what are the most important skills? How should we teach kids and build those skills in order for them to grow up and be functional and productive?
Number one, teach them to look at sources. Teach them to be able to analyze what is being responded to and to put it in the framework of their own experience. The trick of that is, how do you tell an 11-year-old to look at their own experience and be able to tell what is accurate and what is not?
What other skills? So it sounds like the one that you just mentioned is critical thinking, to question the answers that is being provided and use one's own judgment and intellectual abilities to ask, is this correct? How else can I validate in order to make sure that the answer provided to me is correct?
Kind of reminds me of all the people who grew up in the 60s and 70s and never trust anybody over 30 and question authority and question everything pretty much. And those are the people that taught my generation through the late 80s, through the 90s. It was question every source that comes across your way and find out why it is that you think that source should be incorrect. And if you can't show that it's incorrect, then maybe there's something to it. And now we're giving people a tool that essentially acts like an answer machine that we then trust to verify itself. We need to get a little bit, take at least one or two steps back to questioning and being able to find opposing sources to things.
I also think that it's important to, coming back to getting outside of one's comfort zone, sometimes it's okay to struggle. In this case, you will mean that don't rely on the AI tools to immediately provide an answer. Struggle a bit. Try to learn to produce an answer on on your own, and then use the tools to validate, to see if the answers provided by AI is similar or different than the answers that you come up by yourself. So independent problem solving.
Well, maybe that's another way to look at it. Maybe train your kids to prompt both on the question and then the counter argument, and essentially asking the AI to create two completely opposing and contradictory claims, and then look at the sources to identify where it's coming up with it. Maybe that's one way to go, because I don't see my kids walking through the stacks of a university library anytime soon.
Still could, but unlikely.
Number one, he's 11.
So continue the discussion with skills. So say that you are an individual contributor in a Fortune 100.
What?
And you want to get out of your comfort zone, and you were told that in order to get to the next level, you need to learn the effective storytelling, meaning to learn new skills. So in this example, how would you learn it? What is the best way to acquire skills that you're not naturally possess, but are important for your next steps in your career?
Oh, sounds familiar. Pretty good at analytical work. Pretty good at strategy work. I can make pretty slide decks. My wife tells me that they're subpar but good enough for industry. But everyone else seems to like my slide decks. My greatest blocker would have been presenting, number one, presenting to senior leadership and presenting out to a broader group of people who didn't understand my particular specialty. And so one of the things that I've embarked on over the past year would be, number one, storytelling, but not storytelling within my own organization or my own specialty, but storytelling to people who completely don't have, not even day-to-day experience with what I do, but virtually zero experience with what I do. So one of the things I asked for was to go out and give either lectures or even just Q&As with other business groups that had nothing to do with what we did, and not even anything particular about our own projects, just general information. So I'm giving short lectures or short Q&As to external partners. I'm giving short Q&As to business departments that maybe not even involved in the things that I'm doing, just to give them awareness of what we do, and maybe if they come across a problem, they know who to refer to. But building up the skills and the reputation of a person who can convey complicated or abstract or unfamiliar concepts to a new audience, and so that they can come away in a short period of time at least having an understanding of it, and building up those skill sets so that when I do start reporting up and I am presenting my pretty slides to the meaningful or decision maker audience, now I have a much more capable skill set in order to do that. And I did it by, number one, stepping out of my comfort zone in a place where I could potentially fail, but that the risks were pretty low. And once I built up enough reps to do that, then I take that same skill set and apply it to the thing that does have some risk and some potential danger to it, but I've already built up those skills. And now that I presented that, now I go further and further to larger and larger and more meaningful audiences on more important matters.
So practice it with intention.
Oh, it's not practice. No, practice is good. Practice doesn't actually get you past that skill building set. You need, again, some sort of friction, some sort of risk in order to force yourself to think past the problems. Practice is doing the same thing you already know how to do.
So today we talk about getting outside one's comfort zone, how to integrate AI in youth learning environment, what are the important skills that the next generation needs to possess in order to become functional adults, and what is the most effective way to learn as a junior or independent contributor and a knowledge worker.
Yeah.
What is the one takeaway that you want to leave people with?
The fundamentals for what you want to teach your kids has not changed. It's how to control themselves and their emotions, all right, really easy. How to think critically, and how to work with other people. And understanding that, to a large degree, AI tools shortcut their ability to develop those skills. So whenever you're trying to build those out, watch what you're doing with that. And as for learning on the job, you'll be fine.